Hi, I'm Lanny White, and I am doing a speech for week 3. A speech done by George C. Marshall a couple years after World War II. The reason I'm giving this particular speech is I see a lot of things in the world after we've had military conflicts, whether it be Iraq or Afghanistan. That it doesn't seem like we do a very good job at securing the area so that the country in question can be rebuilt and stay peaceful. Anyhow, 1947, Harvard University. This is excerpts of George C. Marshall's speech. I'm profoundly grateful, touched by the great distinction and honor and great compliment accorded me by the authorities of Harvard this morning. I do not need to tell you the situation is very serious in the world. That is apparent to all people. I think one difficulty is that the problem is one of such enormous complexity that the very mass of facts presented to the public by the media make it very difficult for a person on the street to reach a clear appraisement of the situation. Furthermore, the people of the country are distanced from the troublous areas on the earth, and it is hard for them to comprehend the plight and consequent reactions of long-suffering peoples of Europe and the effect of those reactions on their governments in connection with our efforts to promote peace in the world. In considering the requirements for the rehabilitation of Europe, the physical loss of life, the visible destruction of cities, factories, mines, and railroads was correctly estimated. But it has become obvious during recent months that this visible destruction was probably less serious than the dislocation of the entire fabric of European economy. For the past 10 years, conditions have been highly abnormal. The feverish preparation for war and the even more feverish maintenance of the war effort engulfed all aspects of national economies. Machinery has fallen into disrepair or is entirely obsolete. Under the destructive Nazi rule, virtually every possible enterprise was geared into the German war machine. Long-standing commercial ties, private institutions, banks, insurance companies, and shipping companies disappeared through loss of capital, absorption through nationalism, or by simply destruction. In many countries, confidence in the local currency has been severely shaken. The breakdown of the business structure of Europe during the war was complete. Recovery has been seriously retarded by the fact that 2 years after the close of hostilities, a peace settlement with Germany and Austria has still not been agreed upon. But even given a more prompt solution of these difficult problems, the rehabilitation of the economic structure of Europe quite evidently will require much longer time and greater effort than had been foreseen. There is a phase of this matter which is both interesting and serious. For example, the farmer has always produced the foodstuffs to exchange with the city dweller for the necessities of life. This division of labor is the basis of modern civilization. The town and the city industries are not producing adequate goods to exchange with the food-producing farmer. Raw materials and fuel are in short supply. Machinery, as I have said, is lacking or plain worn out. The farmer or the peasant cannot find the goods for sale which he desires to purchase. So sale of his farm produce for money which he cannot use seems to him an unprofitable transaction, I should say. He, therefore, has withdrawn many fields from crop cultivation and he's using them for grazing. He feeds more grain to stock and fends for himself and his family an ample supply of food, however short he may be on clothing and other ordinary gadgets of civilization. Meanwhile, people in the cities are short on food and fuel, and in some places approaching the starvation levels. So, the government are forced, I should say, to use their foreign money and credits to produce or to procure these necessities abroad. This process exhausts funds which are urgently needed for the reconstruction. Thus, a very serious situation is rapidly developing, which bodes no good for the world. The truth of the matter is that Europe's requirements are for the next 3 or 4 years of foreign food and other essential products, principally from America, are so much greater than her present ability to pay that she must have substantial additional help or face economic, social, and political deterioration of a very grave character. The remedy seems to lie in breaking this vicious cycle and restoring the confidence of the people of Europe in the economic future of their own countries and of Europe as a whole. The manufacturer and the farmer throughout wide areas must be able and willing to exchange their product for currencies, the continuing value of which is not open to question. Aside from the demoralizing effect on the world and the possibilities of disturbances arising as a result of the desperation of the people concerned, the consequences to the economy of the United States should be apparent to all. It is logical that the United States should do whatever it is able to do to assist in the return of normal economic health in the world, without which there can be no political stability and no assured peace. Our policy is directed not against any country or doctrine, but against hunger, poverty, desperation, and chaos. Its purpose should be the revival of the working economy in the world so as to permit the emergence of a political and social condition in which free institutions can exist. Such existence, I am convinced, must not be a piecemeal basis as various crises develop. Any assistance that this government may render in the future should provide a cure rather than a quick fix. Any government that is willing to assist in this task of recovery will find full cooperation from the United States government. Any government which maneuvers to block the recovery of other countries cannot expect help from us. Furthermore, governments, political parties, or groups which seek to perpetuate human misery in order to profit will encounter the opposition of the United States. It is already evident that before the United States government can go much further in its efforts to alleviate the situation and help start the European world on its way to recovery, there must be some agreement amongst the countries of Europe as to the requirements of the situation and the part of those countries themselves will take in order to give the proper effect to what actions might be undertaken by this government. It wouldn't be fitting nor effective for our government to undertake to draw up unilaterally a program designed to place Europe on its economic feet. This is the business of the Europeans. The initiative, I think, must come from Europe. The role of this country should consist of friendly aid in the drafting of a European program and of later support of such a program so far as it may be practical for us to do so. The program should be a joint one, agreed by the number, if not all, European nations. An essential part of any successful action on the part of the United States is an understanding on the part of the people of America of the character of the problem and the remedies to be applied. Political passion and prejudice should have no part. With foresight and willingness on the part of our people to face up to the vast responsibility which history has clearly placed upon our country, the difficulties I've outlined can and will be overcome. I am sorry that on each occasion I have said something publicly in regard to our international situation. I have been forced by the necessities of the case to enter into rather technical discussions, but to my mind, it is of vast importance that our people reach some general understanding of what the complications really are, rather than to react from a passion or a prejudice or an emotion of the moment. As I said more formally a moment ago, we are remote from the scene of these troubles. It is virtually impossible at this distance, merely by reading or listening or even seeing photographs and motion pictures, to grasp all the real significance of the situation. and yet the future of the world hangs on proper judgment. I think to a large extent on the realization of the American people of just what are the various factors, what are the reactions of the people, what are the justifications of those reactions, what are the sufferings, what is needed, what can be best done, what must be done. Thank you very much. Once again, that was George C. Marshall in 1947 at Harvard University.